Welcome to the Recon Trader. In today's video, I will share with you some tactical analysis over on the Bitcoin chart, as once again, Bitcoin has closed another weekly candle in the red, and so that makes 9 consecutive weekly candles closing in the red, which is a new record as it broke last week's record for 8 weekly red candles. But with that all being said, Bitcoin is pumping today. However, you will want to proceed with caution, as this could just be the start of a bull trap. So with that all being said, let's jump over to the charts. And the first chart we're going to start on today is going to be the CME futures on the daily candles. And the reason I want to start over here is partially because Bitcoin is starting to pump, and we still have this gap down back here that still needs to be filled. As you can see, typically Bitcoin does fill its gaps on the charts. You can see these gap ups all did eventually get filled. Also, there are a couple gap downs back here which also did eventually get filled on the way up. And so with Bitcoin pumping today, then perhaps we could see this gap get filled in the month of June. And in order for that gap to get filled, Bitcoin's price would need to get back up to around $36,000. Now, the reason I bring this chart up, if we jump over here to the open interest on the options for Bitcoin, you can see the options expiring at the end of June 24th. Max paying price is at $35,000. And again, jumping back over here to the CME chart, you can see that that gap is at 36,000. So there is a little bit of correlation between the June expiring options and the max paying price of 35,000 and that gap of 36,000. So in reality, it could just be a coincidence, but it is something I will be keeping an eye on throughout the month of June. Now, if we look at the options that are actually expiring tomorrow on a Tuesday, but it is the end of the month options, the max paying price is $30,000. So the bulls really want to keep this price above $30,000, and right now we're at around $30,006. But if the bulls could get the close above $31,000, that would even be better for the bulls and a little more painful for the bears. Now, since we are taking a look at the expiring options, we'll jump to the end of the week. Those are a little more meaningful. So June 3rd would be the end of this week. It's only Monday today. And so Friday, that max paying level is still at that $30,000 level. And again, you can see would be a little more profit for the bulls if they could get a close above 31,000 or maybe even 32,000. So the bulls do have some motivation to try to get the price of Bitcoin above really 32,000 by the end of this week. And perhaps that's why we're seeing the bullish momentum and the price of Bitcoin pumping today. Now, if we jump over here to the daily candles on Bitcoin, I do want to point out this could just be a bull trap if we see Bitcoin's price come up into, say, 33,000 or even that 35 and 36,000. And if we start to see a reversal at that level, that could very well signal a pretty big bull trap, and we see this price sell off back down below this 28.8 level and perhaps all the way down to 25,000. And for those of you who are not familiar what a bull trap setup looks like, basically you have a sell-off, you get the price kind of move sideways and then eventually into a reversal, and then that reversal eventually breaks above resistance and then eventually rolls over and goes lower than this area where it was kind of going sideways at. And so jumping back over to the chart, we've definitely seen the sell-off. It's going sideways. We're now really at the very beginning of perhaps a reversal. And then the resistance level, again, I'd be looking at would be anywhere between 31,000 to 33,000. If the Bitcoin price breaks above that resistance zone, then we could see it push a little bit higher. And then if it starts to roll over, that is the point in time that the bull trap snaps shut. And we start to see the folks who got long on this move being trapped as the price starts to sell off and more than likely go lower than this zone here, which is around that 28,000 to 28.8 level. And more than likely, it ends up somewhere around 25,000 to maybe even 23,000. Now, if we drop in my Fibonacci levels, and I was actually watching a descending triangle develop here, and Bitcoin has broken above it. Normally what I was actually looking for was the breakdown below, and you can see my price targets if we got the break up or the breakdown. The breakdown again is around that 25,000, no coincidence there. And the breakout price towards the top side is 33,000, which happens to be back here where we found support at the beginning of this sell-off in the first place. And so the way you actually find these price targets is you go from the low to the high of the triangle, and so you drop your line in there, and then you take it over to where the breakout happens. Now I was anticipating the breakout back here, but we actually ended up getting it here, so that still puts us around the 33,000 or just above. Now again, for the bull trap to take effect, we would need to get above resistance, which you can see would fall anywhere between say 31,000 and this 33,000. A breakout above that, and then beginning to roll over at the top of that breakout, which again I would target probably around 35,000 to maybe the 786 level on the Fibonacci's, and that puts us right around that 36,000 level, which would fill the gap over on the CME futures chart. And if this move just ends up being one giant bull trap and we reject at say around 36,000, this price rolls over, and that completed price target could be somewhere down around this 25,000 to again 23,000. Now if we jump over here to the weekly chart for Bitcoin, as you can see, Bitcoin now has 9 consecutive red candles in a row. That is a new record for Bitcoin. It has never in the history of Bitcoin sold off 9 weeks in a row. And so with the close of yesterday's candle in the red, we get 9 weekly candles in the red. Now today we are starting to see a green candle, but it's very early in the week. We could still see the price of Bitcoin by the end of this week turn red and get that 10th consecutive red candle in a row. However, more than likely at some point in time, this losing streak will come to an end. And if it's this week, then what I would really be looking for is the price of Bitcoin to try to get, if possible, back above this 120-day moving average, which is this white line running through the screen, and actually now it's orange because the price is below it. And if the price of Bitcoin can get back above, that would obviously be bullish, but you can see that that moving average is coming in just above 32,000, and again 32,000 to 33,000 is more than likely going to be resistance on the way back up for Bitcoin. So it will be interesting by the end of the week if Bitcoin is able to push above this moving average. And speaking of moving averages, you can see my EMA ribbon is definitely flipping. We're getting the greens on the bottom and the reds and yellows are moving to the top. So that is actually still very bearish, but obviously with 9 consecutive bearish candles in a row, you would most certainly expect to see the EMA ribbon flipping to bearish. And this EMA ribbon often will act as support or resistance. You can see where it was pretty strong resistance here. And so if Bitcoin does actually pump up towards the ribbon, it will more than likely hit that ribbon somewhere around the 36,000 level. And if that acts as resistance, as I mentioned on the other charts, we could then see a sell-off from that level. Now, if I add in my Fibonacci retracement levels, you can see that this 1272 level, which is around 28.8, is obviously acting as support, as was expected since it had acted as support back here. And you can see that same area was support even further back in this area here. And so the bear's first objective really is to get this price to close down below the 1272 level, which would be a close below essentially, let's call it 28.7. That could certainly signal a move on back down towards the 1618 level, which puts us right around 23.5 or 23,000. After that, then we're looking all the way back down to the 272 level, and that puts us around $13,500. Now on the flip side, if the bulls can continue the momentum and push this price up, the first level of resistance they are more than likely going to run into is going to be around 33,000, as again we saw that act as support back here often support turns into resistance, so we could see some resistance at this 33,000. Now, as I mentioned on the daily chart, if Bitcoin's price can get above 33,000, then the next level we're looking at as far as resistance would be is the 786 level, which puts us right around that 36,000 level. And you can also see back in here that has acted as support once again, so it could act as future resistance. With that all being said, the key levels I will be keeping an eye on for this week and really for the month of June so far are going to be 33,000 as resistance, and then 36,000 above the 33,000 as a real key level. Now, on the flip side, the level of support I've been watching for the past few weeks is going to be this 28.8. Anything below that, then we're looking at 23,500 down to as low as 13,500. Now, I don't expect those levels to come in overnight. It would more than likely take weeks, and that applies to both the bullish and the bearish levels. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. If anything major happens over here on the Bitcoin chart, I will do an updated video. So now would be a good time to shoot the subscribe button so you don't miss that updated video. If you like this video, do me a favor, spike a like. If you have questions or comments, drop them in the comment section down below. And until next time, remember, never send your money into battle without first doing your recon. See you in the next video.